So this is probably the most important article you'll read all year. This is by Omar Aziz, author, brown boy, contributing writer at the Globe and Mail. So, I mean, this is not like a little alternative media type thing, right? This is Globe and Mail. Canada's in serious trouble, and Aziz hits the nail on the head on the causes. So, I just want your like when I go through these things, I'm like, I wonder what Darren thinks about this. You know, it's kind of cool that we do this show where I can get your take live on air, so to speak. But I think it's really worth going over here, and because it does get into what we just talked about, so it can sort of be part of this whole segment. So anyways, here he says it's deep incompetence by politicians. So it's kind of like one of the themes that we talk about here, who resort to PR management over making decisions. So parliament is deeply dysfunctional, with question period a joke and committee hearings a farce. Trudeau, but also the provincial premiers, have much to answer for. Many of our leaders come from legacy wealthy backgrounds and have absolutely no idea how difficult they'd made life for Canadians. What I realized soon thereafter was that this country was witnessing a systematic political failure, a complete inability of politicians to get change done in ways that manifested at the dinner table. An extreme form of PR and image management had begun to take over delivering on policy in concrete ways, and the entire country was noticing. Nor was this an accident, the unfortunate consequence of polarization or inequality, but the deliberate result of multiple policy failures, as well as failures of will. See, I mean, does that not make sense so far? From a high level, looking at the politicians?
Yeah, this is like, so far, this sort of just bakes right into my theory.
Okay, yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted you to hear about it. So normally in a democracy, social ills can be addressed by public officials. But Canada's own political institutions have been riven by corruption and personal ambition, and now also potentially by foreign influence. Each controversy and scandal leads people away from crucial time and policy attention that could have been spent on fixing the country's major issues. At the parliamentary level, most members of parliament are so frightened of speaking for themselves that they are rendered powerless. This defies the very essence of the British parliamentary system, upon which Canada's system is based, which empowers MPs to speak on behalf of their constituents and represent their true voice in the people's chamber. This is where it gets into crime. Inattention to rising crime, especially rampant car thefts, a revolving door criminal justice system, neglect of the opioid crisis. We have the laxest justice system in the Western world. Causing someone's death will get you a 6-month sentence in one prominent example. America had mass incarceration. We have mass leniency. At some point, one would think that the deaths of so many innocent and vulnerable people would elicit outrage. Yet life goes on as normal. Each life is precious, and when violent criminals get off easy or without punishment at all, they learn the terrible lesson that this country does not take its own laws seriously. So why should they? When the law loses its power to deter crime, either because of prosecutors not moving forward with cases, or because of a general laissez-faire attitude toward violent crime happening in other neighborhoods, it is the marginalized who are harmed most. And then they talk about raising house costs has made nearly everyone, including me, to paraphrase a bittersweet symphony, a slave to massive mortgages until they die, or they are perennial renters. For many Canadians, the cost of living has become unaffordable. The average price of a house in the GTA is $1.1 million, and Metro Van is around the same. There are certainly cheaper places to live, but the average cost of a rental in Canada has reached record highs, more than $2,100 a month. According to one major study, Canada needs to build 3.5 million homes by the end of the decade and is currently only building around 200,000 a year. And this is sort of, here's the dream. 2 more paragraphs left about the dream and about immigration. So this is an interesting take on the immigration too, right? And this is why laws are so important, because it's like a social contract, right? You need to know where the boundaries are, what you can do in your daily life, right? Violation of the social contract on immigration. In Canada, the social contract for years allowed more immigration to grow the economy, but this came with stringent criteria for who should be admitted. Today, there are more than 900,000 international students in Canada, 170% increase over the past decade. Some of these students have been scammed by for-profit colleges. Others have been affiliated with fake schools using their student visas as loopholes in the immigration system. The social system was unprepared for such an influx. Though certain institutions benefited, colleges and universities got more fees, politicians touted rising immigration numbers, the landlord class got an endless supply of perpetual renters. Without any housing available, this has left the country unprepared to deal with multiple overlapping economic and social crises. Aziz asks, what is the Canadian dream? It was a promise, less individualistic and gun-friendly than the American version, but no less ambitious. To me, the dream promised that every person could have had a decent shot at life, one that was better than that of their parents. There was emphasis on community and a strong focus on order and good government. The compact included the payment of higher taxes and, in exchange, the existence of world-class social institutions delivering for ordinary people. The immigration system worked because the same contract existed with immigrants, that they should work hard, that they would work hard, play by the rules, become part of Canadian society through legal means, and in return would become citizens of a highly functioning democracy, where a good life was, if not guaranteed, then within reach. The dream was based on fairness, on merit, on policies that worked. It promised breathable air and the bountiful resources of the second largest country on the earth. It promised the principle of equality of opportunity, promised safety and peace and responsibility. It promised leaders who put the national and long-term interests of the country above their own partisan needs. The dream now feels like it's on life support. Amen.
Well, I think he must have just made that dream up. I mean, that must have just been like his take on dream. I've never heard of the Canadian dream before. I mean, it's pretty all right. I mean, here's the thing, we could have a real good thing going if we could get our shit in order, if we were not sending money overseas and doing things like that, if we were like having some sort of bid system in our healthcare, we could maybe have more money to pay the doctors and we could get to some sort of world-class healthcare.